The alien ships appeared like silver mirages against the starfield, their forms defying easy description. Elena stood in the command center of the aspiration, watching as the sensor arrays struggled to make sense of what they were seeing. The vessels seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their surfaces shifting between solid matter and pure energy. "Contact established," reported Lieutenant Torres, his voice tight with tension. "They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, including quantum channels we didn't know existed." Elena felt the weight of first contact settling on her shoulders. After 4.5 years of isolation, humanity was about to meet another sapient species. The implications were staggering. "Can we understand them?" "The translation protocols are working, but the concepts are difficult. They're calling themselves the Inheritors, and they claim to be the descendants of the civilization that built the ruins." Elena's mind raced. The descendants of the transcended civilization, beings who had evolved beyond physical existence but had somehow retained the ability to interact with the material universe. "Are they hostile?" "Unknown. The communication is more philosophical than tactical. They're asking about our readiness and whether we understand the burden of inheritance." Elena looked out at the human settlements spreading across New Terra. Children were playing in the silver-gold grass, their parents working to build a new civilization under alien stars. The responsibility for their survival rested on her shoulders. "Put me through to them," she said. The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, Commander." Elena took a deep breath, preparing to speak for all of humanity. "This is Commander Elena Vasquez of the Human Exodus Fleet. We are refugees from the Milky Way, seeking sanctuary in the Magellanic Cloud. We mean no harm to any intelligent life we encounter here." The response came not as words but as concepts that bypassed language entirely, speaking directly to the mind. Elena felt the presence of vast intelligence, ancient and profound, examining her thoughts with gentle curiosity. "Welcome, children of the Spiral Arms. We have been expecting you." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "You knew we were coming?" "We knew someone would come. The pattern is old, repeated across many galaxies. The devourers spread, civilizations flee, and some find their way to the young galaxies where they can rebuild." "The devourers, you mean the hegemony?" "They are called many names. We knew them as the entropy shepherds, beings who feed on the collapse of complex systems. They have consumed 17 galaxies that we know of, perhaps more." Elena felt the weight of cosmic history pressing down on her. "What happened to your ancestors? The ones who built the ruins?" "They evolved beyond the need for physical existence, becoming one with the quantum structure of reality itself. We are their chosen inheritors, tasked with guiding the refugees who follow in their footsteps." "Guiding us to what?" "To the choice that all species must eventually make. To remain bound by matter and energy, or to transcend into something greater." Elena felt a surge of resistance. "Humanity isn't ready for that kind of choice. We've barely established our first colonies. Time is not linear as you understand it. The choice will come when you are ready, whether that is in 100 years or 100,000. Our role is to ensure you have the knowledge and wisdom to choose well." The communication shifted, and Elena felt information flowing into her mind, star charts, technological specifications, warnings about the dangers and opportunities that lay ahead. It was overwhelming, like trying to drink from a fire hose of cosmic knowledge. "What do you want from us?" she asked. "Nothing. We offer guidance, protection, and the accumulated wisdom of our ancestors. In return, we ask only that you remember what you learn here, so that you may guide those who come after you." Elena thought about the implications. Humanity was becoming part of a chain of refugee civilizations, each one passing knowledge and wisdom to the next. It was a sobering thought. They were not unique in their flight from the hegemony. "How many others have come here?" 47 species have found refuge in the Magellanic Cloud over the past 2 million years. Some have transcended, some have remained physical, some have spread to other galaxies. You are the newest, but you will not be the last. Elena felt a mixture of relief and responsibility. They were not alone in the cosmos, but they were inheriting a burden that stretched across geological time. What can you tell us about the hegemony? Is there any way to stop them? They are not evil as you understand it. They are a natural force, like entropy itself. They feed on complexity, breaking down organized systems to fuel their existence. They cannot be stopped, only avoided. But they are also bound by the laws of physics. They cannot cross the voids between galactic clusters. So we're safe here? For now. But safety is not the goal, growth is. Your species has the potential to become something greater than what you are. The question is whether you will choose that path. Elena looked out at the human settlements, thinking about the children playing under alien stars. They had the potential to become something unimaginable, but they were also still recognizably human. The balance between growth and identity was delicate. What about the others? The 47 species you mentioned? Some remain in the Magellanic Cloud, pursuing their own paths. Others have spread to the greater and lesser Magellanic Clouds, establishing new homes among the stars. A few have attempted to return to their home galaxies, though we do not know if they succeeded. Elena felt a spark of hope. Return? Is that possible? Perhaps. The devourers move in patterns, consuming and then moving on. It is possible that some galaxies recover after they pass. But the time scales are vast, millions of years at minimum. Elena thought about the Milky Way, reduced to exotic matter and energy to feed cosmic predators. The idea that it might somehow recover was both hopeful and heartbreaking. What about our genetic diversity? Can 46 million people sustain a viable population? Your genetic archives contain sufficient diversity, but the real question is whether you will choose to remain purely human. The other species have experimented with genetic modification, cybernetic enhancement, and consciousness transfer. Evolution is not limited to natural selection. Elena felt a chill. The idea of humanity deliberately modifying itself was both fascinating and terrifying. What would you recommend? We recommend wisdom. Change is inevitable, but it should be chosen consciously, not imposed by circumstance. Your species has already begun to evolve. The children born during your journey show enhanced spatial reasoning and mathematical abilities. This is only the beginning. Elena thought about the void-born, the children who had grown up during the crossing. They were already different from their parents, adapted to life among the stars. What about our culture? Our identity as humans? Culture is what you make it. The species that transcended left behind their entire civilization in the ruins, preserved for those who would come after. They chose to become something new while ensuring their legacy survived. You will make your own choices. The communication began to fade, the vast intelligence withdrawing from direct contact. Elena felt the absence like a physical loss, as if a door to cosmic understanding had been gently closed. We will maintain contact, but from a distance. You must find your own path, make your own choices. We will be here when you need guidance, but we will not interfere with your growth. Wait, Elena called out. What about the others? The species that came before us? Some you will meet in time. Others have chosen isolation. A few have transcended entirely. The galaxy is vast, and there is room for many paths. The alien ships began to fade, their forms shifting back into the space between dimensions. Elena watched them go, feeling the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on her shoulders. Humanity was no longer alone, but they were also inheriting a burden that stretched across millions of years. Commander, came the voice of Dr. Chen. We're receiving massive data downloads from the ruins. It appears the inheritors have activated the entire archive. We're getting technological specifications, star charts, cultural records from dozens of species. Elena nodded, looking out at the human settlements. The children playing in the silver-gold grass were about to inherit knowledge that would reshape human civilization. They were no longer just refugees. They were the newest inheritors of a cosmic legacy. Begin the integration process, she said. But carefully. We need to understand what we're inheriting before we start using it. As the alien ships vanished into the void, Elena remained at the viewport, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of purple and gold. Humanity had found refuge in the Magellanic Cloud, but they had also discovered that they were part of something much larger, a community of refugee civilizations stretching across cosmic time. The next chapter of human history was about to begin, and it would be unlike anything anyone had imagined. 6 months after first contact with the inheritors, Elena stood in the heart of the ancient archive, surrounded by crystalline structures that pulsed with knowledge accumulated over millions of years. The ruins had revealed themselves to be not just monuments to a dead civilization, but a vast repository of wisdom left by dozens of species who had found refuge in the Magellanic Cloud. "The translation protocols are finally working," reported Dr. Sarah Kim, now serving as the director of xenoarchaeology. "We're dealing with information compressed into quantum matrices that require specialized neural interfaces to decode. It's like trying to read a book written in living light." Elena nodded, watching as teams of scientists worked to understand the alien technology. The archive contained not just historical records, but active databases that could interact with human consciousness directly. It was overwhelming and exhilarating at the same time. "What have we learned about the previous refugees?" 47 species, as the inheritors told us. Each one arrived fleeing some form of cosmic catastrophe, not just the hegemony, but gamma-ray bursts, galactic collisions, stellar engineering gone wrong. The Magellanic Cloud has been a refuge for millions of years. Elena studied the holographic displays showing the migration patterns. The galaxy was like a vast harbor, sheltering the survivors of cosmic disasters from across the universe. What happened to them? Different paths. 17 species chose to transcend into energy beings, like the original builders. 12 established permanent settlements and are still here, though they've evolved beyond easy recognition. 8 chose to spread to other galaxies once they had recovered. The remaining 10, we're not sure. Their records simply end. Elena felt a chill. They died out? Possibly. Or they chose to hide their final fate. The archive contains safeguards against certain types of knowledge, information that could be dangerous to developing civilizations. Elena thought about the implications. The galaxy was inhabited by beings so advanced that they could choose to exist as pure consciousness, yet they maintained these archives for the benefit of newcomers. It was a humbling thought. What about practical knowledge? Technology that could help us? Extensive. We've identified fusion technologies that could provide unlimited clean energy, terraforming techniques that could make any world habitable, medical advances that could extend human lifespan by centuries. But, the information comes with warnings. Every technological advance carries risks. Several species apparently destroyed themselves by advancing too quickly, losing their identity in the process of becoming something else. Elena nodded. It was the classic problem of technological development. The tools that could save a civilization could also destroy it. What do the inheritors recommend? Gradual integration. They suggest we focus on technologies that enhance human capabilities rather than replace them. Genetic optimization rather than wholesale modification. Consciousness expansion rather than replacement. Elena looked around the archive, feeling the weight of millions of years of accumulated wisdom. What about the Void-born? Are they mentioned in the records? Extensively. Apparently, children born during intergalactic travel develop enhanced cognitive abilities in almost all species. It's a form of evolutionary adaptation to the cosmic environment. The Void-born are humanity's first step toward becoming a truly galactic species. Elena thought about the children growing up in the human settlements. They were already showing abilities that their parents couldn't match: enhanced spatial reasoning, intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics, and what appeared to be limited telepathic abilities. They were becoming something new. Are there other human colonies? Other groups that escaped the Milky Way? Unknown. The archive suggests that the hegemony's consumption of the Milky Way was unusually rapid. Most species have centuries to prepare their evacuation. Humanity had only years. It's possible that other groups escaped, but if they did, they haven't reached the Magellanic Cloud yet. Elena felt a surge of hope. What about the Harmony? Any update on their status? Still en route. Latest projections suggest they'll arrive in approximately 6 months. They're maintaining communication, but the signal is getting weaker. We're not sure if it's distance or technical problems. Elena stared at the quantum matrices pulsing with alien knowledge. 12,000 people were still lost in the void, struggling to reach safety. The archive contained technologies that could help them, but the integration process was slow and careful. What about defense? Are there threats we should know about? Several. The Magellanic Cloud is young and active, which means stellar instabilities, gamma-ray bursts, and other cosmic hazards. There are also rogue civilizations, species that chose the path of expansion and conquest rather than peaceful development. But the inheritors maintain a protective presence. They've been guardians of this galaxy for millions of years. Elena nodded. The galaxy was not a peaceful haven, but it was protected by beings of immense power and wisdom. What about the other species? Are we likely to encounter them? Eventually. The archive contains contact protocols for the 12 species that still maintain physical presence in the galaxy. They've all agreed to the principles of non-interference and mutual aid. First contact, when it happens, should be peaceful. Elena felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Humanity was about to join a galactic community that had been established long before their species had even developed agriculture. The responsibilities were enormous. What about our own development? How should we proceed? The archive suggests a 3-phase approach. First, establish a stable multi-world civilization with sustainable populations. Second, begin careful genetic and technological enhancement to adapt to the galactic environment. Third, develop the philosophical and spiritual frameworks necessary for eventual transcendence. Elena raised an eyebrow. Transcendence? It appears to be the ultimate goal for most species. The transition from physical existence to consciousness-based existence. But it's not required. Several species have chosen to remain physical while developing abilities that approach transcendence. Elena thought about the implications. Humanity could become something unimaginably powerful, but at the cost of everything that made them human. What do you recommend? Patience. We have time, millions of years if necessary. The choice should be made consciously, when we're ready, not forced by circumstances. For now, we focus on building a stable civilization and raising our children to be citizens of the galaxy. Elena looked around the archive one more time, feeling the weight of cosmic responsibility. Begin the integration process. But slowly, carefully. We need to understand what we're becoming before we commit to the path. As she left the archive, Elena thought about the children playing in the silver-gold grass under alien stars. They were the future of humanity, the first generation to grow up knowing they were part of something larger than a single species on a single world. They would make choices that would determine the fate of human consciousness for millions of years to come. The archive held the wisdom of ages, but the future remained unwritten. Humanity would have to choose its own path among the stars, guided by the knowledge of those who had walked similar paths before them. The next phase of human evolution was about to begin. 10 years after the establishment of New Terra, Elena stood in the council chamber of the first human city built in another galaxy. The settlement had grown from a collection of prefabricated shelters to a gleaming metropolis of crystalline spires and living architecture, incorporating technologies gifted by the ancient archive. Around the council table sat representatives from all the human settlements scattered across the Magellanic Cloud, now numbering over 200 worlds. The proposal is simple, said Dr. Marcus Chin, now serving as the head of the Genetic Enhancement Council. We have the technology to eliminate genetic diseases, extend human lifespan to centuries, and enhance cognitive abilities beyond current limitations. The question is whether we should use it. Elena looked around the table at the faces of humanity's leaders. Some were still recognizably the refugees who had fled the Milky Way, now aged and worn by the years of building a new civilization. Others were voidborn, their enhanced cognitive abilities evident in their manner of speaking and thinking. The generational divide was becoming more pronounced with each passing year. What are the risks? Asked Dr. Sarah Kim, now representing the Cultural Preservation Council. Unknown, but potentially severe. responded Dr. Chen. The archive records show that several species underwent rapid genetic modification only to lose their essential identity. They became something else entirely, more powerful, longer-lived, but no longer recognizably what they had been. Elena studied the holographic displays showing the proposed modifications. The technology was breathtaking. Humanity could become immune to aging, disease, and even death itself. But the price was the fundamental alteration of human nature. "What about the Void-born?" she asked. "They're already showing enhanced abilities." "Natural adaptation," said Dr. Yuki Tanaka, one of the first Void-born to reach adulthood. "We developed these abilities through environmental pressure, not artificial modification. The difference is crucial. We're still human, just evolved." Elena nodded. The Void-born were undeniably different from their parents. They thought in dimensions that baseline humans couldn't grasp, communicated through quantum entanglement, and seemed to have an intuitive understanding of the universe's fundamental structures. But they were still recognizably human in their emotions, desires, and relationships. "What do the inheritors recommend?" asked Commander Torres, now heading the Defense Council. "They remain neutral," Elena replied. "They've made it clear that each species must choose its own path. Some of the previous refugees chose extensive modification, others remained essentially unchanged. Both approaches have their merits." "What about the 12 species still active in the galaxy?" asked Dr. Kim. "Have we had contact with them?" "Limited. The architects share our star system. They're the builders of the vast ring world around Beta Magellani 7. They've offered to share their construction technologies, but they've also warned about the psychological effects of building on cosmic scales. The gardeners terraform entire worlds, but they've become so integrated with their ecosystems that they're essentially living planets. The wanderers have no fixed home, traveling between stars and city ships that are themselves living beings." Elena paused, thinking about the various paths that lay before humanity. Each species has found its own way to thrive in the galaxy, but they've all paid a price. The question is what price we're willing to pay. "What about the Harmony?" asked Dr. Chen. "They should arrive within the next few months. 12,000 people who've been traveling for over a decade. Their perspective might be valuable." Elena felt a familiar pang of guilt. The Harmony had been struggling to reach the Magellanic Cloud for over 10 years, their journey prolonged by mechanical failures and resource shortages. The people aboard had lived through experiences that the main fleet couldn't imagine. "Preliminary communications suggest they've changed," she said carefully. "The isolation and hardship have affected them in ways we're still trying to understand. They may not be the same people who left the Milky Way." "Changed how?" asked Dr. Kim. "They've developed what they call deep bonding, a form of consciousness sharing that allows them to function as a collective while maintaining individual identity. It's not technological, it appears to be a natural adaptation to extreme isolation." Elena looked around the table. "The point is that change is inevitable. The question is whether we guide it or let it happen naturally. I think we need to consider the long-term implications," said Dr. Tanaka. "In a million years, what do we want humanity to look like? What do we want to preserve, and what are we willing to lose?" It was a question that struck at the heart of human identity. Elena thought about the children playing in the silver-gold grass, the artists creating new forms of beauty under alien stars, the scientists unlocking the secrets of the universe. They were already becoming something new. "The archive suggests that the most successful species are those who maintain their core identity while adapting to their environment," she said. "We need to find a way to enhance human capabilities without losing human nature." "What about a trial program?" suggested Commander Torres. "Voluntary modifications for adults who understand the risks. We could learn from the experience without committing the entire species." Elena nodded. "That's one option. But we need to be careful about creating a divide between the enhanced and the baseline humans. The social implications could be disastrous." "What about the transcendence option?" asked Dr. Kim. "The inheritors mentioned that as the ultimate goal for most species. Eventually, perhaps. But not now. We're not ready for that kind of fundamental change." We need to establish a stable civilization first, understand what we're becoming, and then make the choice consciously. Elena looked out through the chamber's transparent walls at the city beyond. New Terra had become a marvel of human engineering and alien wisdom, a place where refugees from one galaxy were building the foundations of a new civilization. But it was still recognizably human in its structure and purpose. I propose a compromise, she said. We continue with the gradual integration of archive technologies, but we focus on enhancements that preserve human identity. Extended lifespan, disease resistance, enhanced cognitive abilities, but not fundamental alterations to human nature. What about the Void-born? Asked Dr. Tanaka. We're already beyond baseline human capabilities. You're the next step in human evolution, Elena replied. Natural adaptation to the galactic environment. You show us what humanity can become without losing what humanity is. The council fell silent, each member contemplating the weight of the decision. They were choosing the path that human civilization would follow for the next 1,000,000 years. All in favor of the gradual enhancement protocol? Elena asked. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would enhance its capabilities while preserving its essential nature. They would become something new, but they would remain human. As the council session ended, Elena remained in the chamber, looking out at the city that had grown from refugee camps to a metropolis that rivaled anything in the old galaxy. The children playing in the streets were the future of humanity, enhanced, adapted, but still recognizably the children of Earth. The choice had been made. Now came the hard part, living with the consequences. 100 years after the establishment of New Terra, Elena Vasquez stood in the memorial garden, her consciousness now existing in a crystalline matrix that preserved her memories and personality while granting her near immortality. The garden commemorated the 753 million people who had been left behind when the Exodus fleet fled the Milky Way, their names inscribed in living light that danced among the silver-gold trees. Humanity had changed in the century since the Great Evacuation. The average human lifespan now stretched to over 500 years, diseases had been eliminated, and cognitive abilities had been enhanced through careful genetic modification. The Void-born had evolved into the Starborn, humans who could exist in the vacuum of space and communicate through quantum entanglement across interstellar distances. Yet they remained recognizably human in their emotions, creativity, and relationships. Great-grandmother Elena, came a voice behind her. Elena turned to see her descendant, a young woman whose enhanced genetics allowed her to shift between physical and energy-based existence at will. The council is ready for your report. Elena smiled, feeling the warmth of family connections that had sustained her through the centuries. How many worlds now, Lyra? 12,000, across both Magellanic clouds. The population has grown to over 2 billion, and we're preparing for the first expedition to the Andromeda Galaxy. Elena nodded. Humanity had become a true galactic civilization, spread across millions of star systems and countless worlds. They had made contact with the other refugee species, learned from their experiences, and found their own path among the stars. Any word from the deep space monitoring stations? She asked. The hegemony has finished processing the Milky Way. They're moving toward the Andromeda Galaxy now, but our projections suggest they won't reach the Magellanic clouds for another 1,000,000 years. Elena felt a familiar sadness. The galaxy of humanity's birth was gone, consumed by cosmic predators that existed beyond the comprehension of material beings. But life continued, adapted, and found new ways to flourish. What about the other refugee groups? Any sign of other human survivors? The deep space arrays have detected several artificial signals from the void between galaxies. It's possible that other groups escaped the Milky Way and are still in transit. We're maintaining beacon networks for any who might find their way here. Elena felt a surge of hope. Humanity might not be the only survivors of their species. Somewhere in the cosmic dark, other groups of refugees might be struggling towards safety, carrying their own fragments of human civilization. The council wanted to discuss the Transcendence proposal again, Lyra said. The inheritors have indicated that humanity is approaching readiness for the next phase of evolution. Elena nodded. The question of transcendence had been debated for decades. Several human colonies had chosen to evolve beyond physical existence, becoming beings of pure consciousness that could exist within the quantum structure of the galaxy itself. But the majority of humanity still chose to remain physical, albeit highly enhanced. What's the current opinion? Divided. The Starborn are eager to take the next step, but the Earthborn want to preserve our physical heritage. The Voidborn are split. Some see transcendence as the natural evolution of consciousness, others worry about losing our essential humanity. Elena thought about the question that had defined human civilization for the past century. What did it mean to be human? Was it their physical form, their consciousness, their culture, or something else entirely? Tell the council that I recommend patience, she said. We have time, millions of years if necessary. The choice should be made when we're ready, not because we feel pressured to evolve. As they walked through the memorial garden, Elena reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this point. They had fled their home galaxy as refugees, crossing the void between galaxies to find sanctuary among the stars. They had built a new civilization, enhanced their capabilities, and joined a community of species that stretched across cosmic time. But they had also preserved what made them human: their creativity, their compassion, their stubborn refusal to surrender in the face of impossible odds. The children playing in the silver-gold grass were still recognizably the children of Earth, even if they could exist in the vacuum of space and communicate with beings of pure energy. Great-grandmother, Lyra said suddenly, do you ever regret the choice to leave the Milky Way? Elena paused, considering the question. She thought about Earth, blue and green and beautiful, lost to cosmic predators. She thought about the 753 million people who had been left behind, their names inscribed in the memorial garden. She thought about the rear guard, who had died to buy time for the fleet's escape. No, she said finally. We made the only choice we could. We preserved what mattered most, not our bodies or our worlds, but our consciousness, our culture, our capacity to grow and change and become something greater. She looked out at the city that had grown from refugee camps to a metropolis that spanned 3 continents. We didn't just survive, we thrived. We became something new while remaining true to what we were. That's the greatest achievement any species can hope for. As the twin suns of the Beta Magellani system set behind the crystal spires of New Terra, Elena felt a deep satisfaction. Humanity had faced extinction and had not merely survived but had used the experience to become something greater. They were no longer the species that had evolved on the African savanna or built the first cities in Mesopotamia. They were something new, the inheritors of the galaxy, the bridge between the material and the transcendent. The future stretched before them, vast and full of possibilities. Other galaxies waited to be explored, other forms of consciousness to be discovered, other challenges to be overcome. The children playing in the silver-gold grass would grow up to see wonders that their ancestors could never have imagined. But they would still be human, in all the ways that mattered. The Exodus fleet had completed its journey, but the story of humanity was just beginning. In the vast theater of the cosmos, they had found their place among the stars, and they would endure. The last human ships had fled the Milky Way as refugees. But their descendants would explore the universe as pioneers, carrying the flame of human consciousness to the furthest reaches of space and time. The exile had become an empire. The refugees had become the inheritors of infinity.